Dave Palumbo standing here with Linda Wood-Hoyte, IFBB judge, and we're here at the 2015 New York Pro Championships. Linda, we're going to do a little wrap-up of some of the festivities, everything but the men's open. We've done that already with Cedric McMillan, and you know he's the authority in that. Let's talk about the men's. Well, start with women's physique, something that's a little closer to your heart. They rebooted the women's bodybuilding division, so to speak. Women's physique has seemed to take over. The turnout was terrific for the show. What I noticed here in New York tonight was that they went for a much bigger girl than we've seen in the past. Michelle Cummings, who's a former NPC Nationals women's bodybuilding champion, wins here tonight. What clinched it for her in your mind?
Conditioning. She had conditioning and she had excellent shape, and that's a hard thing. Sometimes people are very conditioned and the shape sometimes a little awkward, but she had very good balance, and I think the balance and the conditioning was what made it good for her. And she's not an overly big person. Yes, she's come from bodybuilding. Not everyone can come from bodybuilding and be a physique. Many have tried and doesn't always work, but for her it worked very well.
Did you feel that the lineup here tonight in women's physique was a lot bigger than we've seen in women's physique in, I guess you could say, years past? Because it seems like the girls are getting bigger and bigger again.
Yeah, I think some of the girls were bigger. The conditioning was spot on for a lot of them. I don't think you had anyone really overtly big, but I think there is a little bit growth, how would you say, in the physique. I'm sure they don't want it to morph into bodybuilding.
Is there a danger that we're getting close to that line? I think there is.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
Right, but do you think we're pretty close now? I think tonight was almost over the edge. Even though I love the women bodybuilder physique.
No. There were some here that were, I would say, to the edge, but they didn't make the top placings.
Right.
The top placings were just about spot on. You had conditioning, you had definition, but they weren't really very large. They had graceful lines in them. So I think that's the difference here. If you look at the top three, you have someone who's very tall, graceful physique. You had Cummings, which is right in the middle. Muscular, but not overly muscular, not overly big. So
Gloria Falls put on 15 pounds, I think, from last year. I mean, she's a big girl now. She finishes in second here. Did you think that? What did you like about her, and why didn't she win?
Because, to me, Cummings was a better combination of the two things that I said: symmetry and conditioning. I thought she was a better combination. She had good balance.
So given the fact that the head judge said this is acceptable, you judged what was up there, and Cummings was the best.
Mm-hmm. That's what I would believe, and I think the top three were good representation of physique because they were different heights.
Yeah, Jen Hernandez in third place was very tall, like you said. I was looking at like a physique like Tammy Marie, and I was wondering why Tammy Marie didn't beat someone like Jen Hernandez. What in your mind as a judge would differentiate those two physiques?
It's hard, and I just think Jennifer looked graceful. She's putting on a lot of muscle because she is tall. She's really, really tall, but she wasn't overly muscular. And again, a lot has to do with gracefulness of line and symmetry. And I think what she's done is she widened her shoulder width, kept the her midsection narrow, the waist, and she developed her legs a little bit more.
Is she the Linda Wood-Hoyte of the women's physique division? Because I know Jen is over 50 years old.
Yeah, Jennifer's getting up there. Yeah. She just may be, right.
She might be even over 50.
I know she's not telling anyone, but I know she's getting close. But I think that's the difference. And there's a lot of, I think everyone knows the subjectivity in the sport. And you have different in pros. It's not like amateurs where you have height classes. So you have a tall person with a short person, and you have to just figure out what's the best. It is hard to judge.
Let's talk about the men's 212 division. Guy Cisternino, who a lot of people thought he was like 230 on stage. He was only 208. I mean, this guy is the hardest working bodybuilder out there. I remember when he turned pro, when I was helping him as a middleweight, he's a legitimate 210-pound bodybuilder now. Any deviance in your mind that he was the champion tonight?
No, when he walked out, I think everyone said, oh my goodness, this is the best we have ever seen him. So it was a clear delineation that he's had, and he's done his homework, and he looked very, very good. He was full, he was hard, his posing was spot on. It was
perfectionist.
And he did an excellent job. And I mean, that's what the sport is about. He's been competing for a long, long, long time. And this was a success for him, a success for the sport.
Let's talk about, I think he's Korea's only pro, Kim Jung-ho. He comes all the way from Seoul, Korea, and you know what? He reminds me of the Hide Yamagishi, reincarnate, so to speak. What'd you like about him, and why wasn't he good enough to beat Guy tonight?
Because the guy was just better. It was just better.
What was better about Guy? Bigger?
He was fuller. He was fuller. I think he was fuller, more rounded, more balanced. Kim has a good future. He has a very good future. His legs and everything else development. It's just a matter of, for this night.
Can he be another Hide Yamagishi? I mean, he really looks good. He might be better.
He just has to fill out. He lacks the thickness. He has the width, but he needs to have a little bit more thickness and depth in him, and I think he could be. You know, I don't know how long he's been training. I don't know much about him, but you can see the future in him right there.
Yeah, I agree. I think that he has a bright future, and I think if he continues, who knows? We might even see him move to the United States at some point. You know, to try to make money. You know, live the American dream.
That, right? Everyone does that. It's true. But I think it was a good lineup. I think the show did very, very well. It's bringing out a lot of good talent. The New York Pro now is a show that you do. It is a to-do show. Right. And because of that, you get a very strong line of competitors in all the classes. And I think the men's 212 was absolutely wonderful.
Speaking of terrific physiques, in figure, Latoya Watts comes into New York, establishes herself as something that I already knew and a lot of other people already knew, as a seriously dominant, dangerous figure competitor. Was there any doubt in any of the judges' minds that Latoya was the champion tonight?
No, she has, let's say, she had grace, she had style, she had conditioning, she had all the elements that you're looking for, and tonight was just her night. She presented herself very well. You present, part of it is preparing yourself, and the other part is presenting it. And I say this all the time when I'm working with some of the athletes. You can take a great body and don't present it well and lose. Or you can take a body that's mediocre and present it well. She has a great body, and she presented it well.
Can Latoya Watts be Miss Olympia?
Who knows? I don't know what else is out there, but she has a good future in front of her because she has a very pleasing, graceful look and carries enough in shaping and definition.
As a judge, what would you like to see her make improvements on? Or does she need improvements?
Oh, everyone needs improvement. There's no such thing as I've made it and I don't improve. Right now, off the top, I can't, say maybe just a little tighter. But I think for today, let's leave it at that.
I think she's pretty close to perfect.
She's just about perfect, spot on.
Talk about perfect. Alison Fraun might be the most conditioned athlete in the entire show, including the women's physique division and the men's division. Let me talk about Alison Fraun for a minute, because she might be the most conditioned person in the entire show. Figure used to be like, you can't be too hard. It seems like the judging, you guys seem to be rewarding the conditioning, and I like that better. The conditioned girls more and more and more as the sport evolves. Obviously, you've kept the size in check, but it seems like conditioning is rewarded nowadays.
Well, I think in figure conditioning has always been rewarded to some degree, but in some contests you just can judge what's on the stage. And for this contest at this level, there was a lot of good conditioning. I don't think anyone that we picked went overboard. I think in figure, a lot of balance. You want width, you want some, degree that's standing there. You can see some degree of lean mass and tightness, but I don't think any of the ones that we picked were overboard. I think in any of the areas, you're always going to find someone that takes it to the extreme, but I think they did a good job today in keeping it where it should be.
Let me ask you this question. In the men's physique division, which might have been the most competitive division in the show, let's talk about the men's physique division, Linda, because I don't know how you guys judge this thing. It's so close between these guys. They all are so similar. There's very little differentiation because you're not hitting poses, really. It's kind of like you just got to go by what looks good. George Brown and Chase Savoy, a very tight battle. I actually had Chase winning the show. George emerges victorious here. He was second last week in Pittsburgh. What clinched it for you in your mind, and did you pick George?
I did pick George, but not initially. I worked into it. I liked his lines. His posing was very good, very tight in the center, great, shoulder width, and they looked good from the back and the front. So I think he was a good winner. It was close between the two of them because both of them have the shoulder width and a good angle, but the way he presented himself too made a difference. But he has great lines. He really did.
It's tough in men's physique, especially when you have two physiques that are a little different than each other. George with the small waist. Chase, obviously great waistline, but maybe a little bit more muscle.
He was a little thicker, right? Yeah.
So, it becomes, what do you like better almost? And there isn't there in men's physique a certain degree of what you you find attractive?
Well, it isn't all of them because you have guidelines and everyone, well, what I see is too muscular may be just okay for someone else and vice versa. That's why you have a judging panel. There is subjectivity in the sport, but there's guidelines, but there's an interpretation of the guidelines, which is okay. And that's why there's, 7, 9 judges sitting there, the majority wins. This is it. But I think we both like both of them. And that's why we looked at them again a couple of times.
It could have been a crapshoot. It could have been a coin toss, rather.
It was very, very close.
Speaking of subjectivity, let's talk about the bikini division, because India Paulino, who might be one of the most dominant bikini competitors in the entire sport, because a lot of the girls come, they do well, and then they disappear. She stays around, and she keeps winning shows. What won it for her tonight, in your estimation?
What India has is what we try to have all the competitors understand in bikini. Bikini is just not your body, it's your personality and everything combined. And India is tiny.
She is.
She's absolutely tiny, she's adorable, but she puts that combination together. She's tiny, she's sexy, she just exudes.
Does she win you guys over with her personality?
She's charming, and that's part of it. And that's why I tried to, when I'm working with competitors, I said, you have to put a little bit of yourself in it. And she knows how to put herself in there.
Linda, at 70 years old, can you do a little bikini, gyration?
No, I can't, not at all. I'm very bad.
Those hips are a little stiff?
No, we can't do that. No, we can't, not at all. I admire the ones that can do it, but that's part of the personality.
You're right.
There is a bikini personality. There are some ladies that probably could do bikini based on how they're built, but they don't have the personality to do it. India just knows how to show it so well, and she has a beautiful body.
She's sexy.
I know, and everything just flashes about her. The eyes, the look, and she does it very well. That's a perfect example of what they're looking for. And that's why she keeps winning.
Stephanie Maho finishes in the second position, and Courtney King in the third. It's a great night here. Thanks to Steve Weinberger and Bev Francis putting on a great event here at the New York Pro. They're giving away that great ring to Juan Morel, the winner. For now, though, we are out of time. I'm Dave Palumbo with Linda Wood Hoyte for RxMuscle.com.